in this country, the SACCOs actually are part of a critical pillar when it comes to running Kenya's economy. Now, if you pay attention, amongst the five of you, most likely one or two were schooled courtesy of a SACCO. Back in the village, the parent is saving, getting a loan, investing. So SACCOs are part and parcel of the DNA of this particular country. And to be more specific, STIMA Sacco has been there for 50 good years. That's a long time to be around. Question is, if you've been around that long, what impact is there? What have you brought? And where is the vision? Where are we heading? And right now, we're about to have a conversation with the one and only Dr. Gamaliel Hassan, who is the CEO of STIMA Sacco. Thank you very much for making time, sir. I mean, 50 years, that's a long time. Bring us back to the day, because the founding days are critical. Those are the times where we sort of lay the foundation. How did STIMA Sacco begin?
No, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate this opportunity to discuss 50 years of STIMA Sacco. We were born in 1974, so we actually turned 50 years this year. And the umbilical cord of what makes STIMA Sacco is the first 7 members who came together to sit down on a round table and to state, you know, we do not have access to financial inclusivity. You can imagine back in 1974, opening a bank account, especially for an African, was a tall order. And these individuals felt that they had been left out, and they were seeking very basic, very, let me even simplify that and say very rudimentary financial services, just a place whereby you can put your money if you're paid a salary, a place whereby you can be able to save that money, and of course, borrow much later on. Back in the days, in 1974, you would find that majority of Kenyans actually were paid in cash and did not even have a bank account. So the feeling was, can we therefore sit down together and create a vehicle that would enable us to take our children to school, to buy a house, for those who are planning to wed so that they can be able to wed, those who have children who are going to university, are they able to take them there if they're buying a home? So again, the very basic aspects of what we might take very for granted right now, back in 1974, on the founders of STIMA Sacco were unable to actually do that. So from that journey of the 7 members we had back in 1974, to date we have 200,000, we closed at 200,145 members by December of last year. As of today, we have 209,804 members. So we've managed to add about 9,800 members in the last 5 months or so. Our asset base has grown to, we closed at 59.8 billion shillings. That was last year, end of December 31st. And we made a total revenue of about 8.9 B, making us amongst the largest SACCO in Africa.
That's huge. From 7 members?
7 members, yes.
7 members to now over 200,000. And, you know, you are not in the performance, which I'll go into shortly. But in terms of growth, is there a fundamental foundation that drove growth over these decades to reach the number that we have right now at STIMA Sacco?
I would probably lay that into about 3 different foundations. The first one, for me, the most critical would be the regulatory framework around SACCOs in Kenya. As you are aware, we are regulated by SASRA. SASRA is the Sacco Society's regulatory authority, an equivalent of what CBK is to the banking sector. And currently, SASRA is regulating about 180 or so deposit-taking SACCOs and another 180 non-withdrawable deposit-taking SACCOs as well. So having that framework is that we do have a regulator who's, in my opinion, very strict in terms of adherence to critical core principles or guidance in terms of the ratios, prudential guidelines I think that's the word I'm looking for. So very strict in adherence to those prudential guidelines that make us who we are. So things like attaining your core capital ratios, your institutional capital ratios, ensuring that as a Sacco you meet your liquidity ratios. All of those put into place means that there's a very stable platform for a Sacco to actually exist. So that for us as STIMA, and taking into account we were the first Sacco to be registered and to be given a license, and obviously we have the advantage of being a fast mover, has enabled us to grow to who we are today. The second element obviously is around the aspect of governance. We have a very good governance structure around the board of directors who sit in our board, around our system of delegates that enable members to elect individuals who become part and parcel as owners of that institution, are also the board of members, the directors, the delegates. They're the supreme organ that actually runs the organization. Obviously, you do have a very good management team as well, a team that has tapped from the best in the industry to try and be where we are. But I think the most important thing about being a Sacco has been that you're serving owners, you're not serving customers. So that aspect of empowering our members for life, which is really our mission, and of course, transforming the financial wellness, is what defines who we are. So the moment you're able to create solutions for your members, first thinking about what kind of problems they have, what kind of potential issues they could have, and being there to actually be very innovative to offer that kind of financial solutions is what has given us the success that we've had in the last 50 years.
I'm glad you've raised the issue of serving owners. This element of ownership, it comes with pride. It comes with security in many ways. I'm thinking, because one of your mantras, even just going through your website, it is very clear that anyone can be part of this ownership journey and growth journey. And that is, of course, has the foundation on the institutional framework that has been set by the regulators, you put it. But the Sacco system, it took root very well in this country, unlike the banking that we saw struggle a little bit before taking much root, and it was serving a particular class of people earlier on. Expound for us that's Sacco DNA that is so inclusive and has managed to penetrate the cracks of this country and bring people on matters financial inclusivity.
And thank you for having gone through our website. Indeed, it is true that any Kenyan living in the globe can become a member of STIMA Sacco. Also, in addition to that, any person residing or living in Kenya who's validly here and has a work permit can also become a member of STIMA, although he might not necessarily be a Kenyan. So two categories, any Kenyan anywhere, but any other person also living and residing in Kenya can become a member of the Sacco. I've kind of looked at our data, and I honestly would say that we have membership in every continent in this world, apart from probably Antarctica. And I can give you very nice insights on this. I was looking at some of our data, and I came to a realization that we have almost 6,000 members in the diaspora. Out of that, more than 50% come from the US. Another 26% come from UK. I have membership who are coming from China, from Vietnam. Strange places like Maldives. Maldives is an archipelago with less than 600,000 people, but they're Kenyans living and working somewhere in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And thankfully as well, some of them have also chosen STIMA to become our member, to become the financial vehicle. Maybe a last one, a very interesting one. I think it's called Anguilla. Anguilla is a British protectorate, somewhere between North America and South America, a protectorate of only 16,000 members. I mean, shock on me, they're actually Kenyans living there. And again, we do have members who are also, we also have members in Anguilla who are also members of STIMA Sacco. So when you look at that perspective, we have really tried to make sure that we're providing financial inclusivity to any Kenyan anywhere. And that is our mantra and that is our goal. We've just extended the aspect of the 7 founders of STIMA Sacco to ask what was their goal. And back then, there was not much travel. But right now, Kenyans are everywhere around the world. So we would like to extend that umbilical cord, that connectivity with our founders in terms of what their goals were, so that we can also offer this to our members.
All right.
So very critical for us when you look at that, you're looking at an element of a very stable institution, one that is focused around innovation, is focused about providing solutions, and obviously focused about giving financial inclusivity and literacy to our members.
Definitely. Innovation is the bloodline to sort of survival in the current world that we live in. And by the fact that you guys have been around for 50 years, it means you are innovating pretty fast. I mean, looking at what you guys have sort of tweaked, changed, improved on, the issue of digitization comes in very handy, especially with globalization, very critical. Growing with the market and the market demands. Like right now, Islamic financing is big. As a Sacco, you've taken a step, onboarded that. The issue of including other auxiliary services, insurance, now you are expanding. Enunciate for me this innovation journey within STIMA Sacco and how that is changing the tides for owners, as you call them.
All right, that's a very good question, Noah. In 1974, again, it was very basic. It was more about offering a safe haven and a platform whereby you could get the lack of the banking services that were not there. Over the years, in 1986, we got our independence from Kenya Power and became a standalone institution. And as I've mentioned, back in the year 2000, we were the first Sacco to be registered by the regulator. In it by itself was an innovation. It was an innovation because as many people were shying away from being regulated, STIMA Sacco embraced regulation. And we could see something that probably others only came to see much later, that being regulated by itself was a very innovative way of ensuring that you have a very safe platform of carrying out your day-to-day businesses. Come to the year 2010, that's when we got our license from the regulator, although we started this business in 2002. That is the front office, or what you might call the banking services. Again, that by itself was an innovation. Having been a cooperative and now moving into what you're calling front office services back then, for lack of a better word, what you're calling the banking services. And along the years, a lot of things have happened. In 2019, we opened our first subsidiary, Empower Insurance Agency. So we offer fully fledged insurance financial services to our members. But also importantly, because of restriction of regulation, as a Sacco, we can only deal with our owners. For the insurance agency, we are able to have more than 50 million potential customers, being that any Kenyan, even if you're not a member of STIMA, you'd be able to come on board, you'd be able to get all those services that you potentially would have gotten as an individual. But the advantage being, because we bring in critical mass of 200,000 members, it means when we speak to the underwriters, we are able to have a much more better in terms of value for money for our customers. In the year 2021, as correctly you've stated, we were the first conventional Sacco in Kenya to open a Sharia window. So similarly with the banks that have Sharia windows, STIMA Sacco became the first Sacco to actually do that. And we did that again, linking that to our very founders. We looked around and said, who are these people who have been away or outside or excluded from financial services? And we found that particular segment that does believe in Sharia banking was not included. Similarly, in the year 2021, we were the first Sacco again to push this conversation with the World Bank and African Development Bank, the National Treasury, that culminated into the formation of Kenya Mortgage Finance Company. So to date, as we state, we could give you a loan of up to 25 years, a single-digit loan, 9%, on a reducing balance, not on a flat rate, on a reducing balance for up to 25 years. And I think that was a big innovation for us because majority of SACCOs were unable to lend long-term. And having this partnership with KMRC, whereby we were able to tap into funds coming from the African Development Bank and the World Bank, I think was a major game changer for us. Definitely. And this innovation keeps on growing on a day-to-day basis, Definitely. Even as we're here on our 50th year anniversary.
You know, credit is very critical and important in any society. Even some of the concerns that you're having with the Finance Bill 2024, apart from it making it costlier for transactions, is the whole element of credit and cost. And SACCOs are very critical to fill that role. As you've rightly put, from the foundations and from the founders, it was an aspect of not only where I can save money, but also where I can borrow from.
Absolutely.
So matters to do with credit access and seeing how your loan book has grown over the years. In fact, people are borrowing more and more as that is, your owners are borrowing more and more as years continue. Talk to me about where we stand right now in regards to that aspect of credit.
So credit still remains a very fundamental area of business for us. But let's start by saying we are a savings and credit cooperative. And what is more important than credit is saving. And that is the key distinction of what really a SACCO is. A SACCO is a vehicle that allows you to save, and then from your saving, now you're able to come and borrow. And it's a very important point, especially right now, whereby with all this mobile and digital lending, whereby people are borrowing quite a lot, we still insist on ensuring that your borrowing is valuable to you. So we're not interested in just lending to you. We're interested in having a discussion with you, more like financial coaching, more like financial literacy, to get to understand why are you actually borrowing money from us. So that still remains a very critical component of on our end. But like I've emphasized, saving will come first. So saving means you are opening a share capital account with 500 shillings only. You're opening something like a forced saving deposit account, whereby every month we request that you actually put at least 1,000 shillings every month and put it aside. You can be able to put things like fixed deposit accounts, entertainment in case you're planning a wedding, you're planning to travel, a holiday account. All of those we actually have. Now from there, once we have collected that money, we're also very good at optimizing it so that we're not being wasteful in terms of how we are generating our business, how the cost of now financing itself is quite low. Now from that, then you bring in the aspect of credit. Now our credit facilities, very intentionally, we are ensuring our credit facilities are affordable. Look at the kind of regime that we are in right now with very high interest rate. Look at the CBR rate where it is, 13 plus, put a margin of say 5 or 6% or even more. Bank loans are going for as much as 20% plus. But if you're to come to STIMA, what we really insist on is to ensure that we look at, again, the original owners of STIMA. What do they desire? Apart from saving money with us and getting a good return, they also deserve to have very affordable and cheap credit. So one of our key cornerstones is really about having affordable funding, financing, 9%, 12% loans is where we truly are at.
And as we close up, because our time is up, briefly, where we are heading, the next 50 years, what will shape STIMA's next 50?
So in the next 50 years, the best way to answer this is that if you're to look at the SACCO sector in Africa, Kenya is largest. We are number one. So as we celebrate M-Pesa, we celebrate our athletes, we celebrate rugby sevens who are back at the HSBC. As we celebrate all of that, I also urge Kenyans to celebrate the SACCO sector, because the SACCO sector in Kenya is the largest in Africa. And that is the reason why STIMA Sacco is at the forefront. So the way we are looking at it is, if you're to compare with our bigger peers across the world, the Navy Federal Credit Union in the US, has an asset base of about 170 billion US dollars. Convert that into Kenya shillings, about 22 trillion Kenya shillings. Think about our GDP, which is about 113 B, converting into Kenya shillings, roughly about 14 trillion. So there's a Sacco outside there that is larger than our GDP. So we as STIMA Sacco look at that and say, wow, if that is possible, then there's endless possibility for STIMA Sacco as well. So we have a big and great desire to be as large as those large institutions outside there so that we can discuss further the aspect of inclusivity. And it's also important for me, on my closing remark, to also mention that this year in Kenya, there will be what is called the Sacco Congress. The Sacco Congress is, for lack of a better analogy, is like the African Cup of Nations for the Sacco sector. This is where all the Saccos will come to Kenya between 6th and 12th of October, when we'll be having a symposium and a conference, bringing together everybody across the world. And on 11th of October, which is somewhere between the Sacco Congress, we'll be celebrating our 50th year anniversary.
Thank you very much and congratulations. Dr. Gamali Al-Hassan is the CEO of STIMA Sacco, and he says that the next 50 is the vision because we have the potential to grow, and STIMA is actually on the right track. On that particular moment, we put a full stop to this conversation. Up next, we have news coming up. Stay tuned right here, KTN News. Congratulations, Dr.